Gale, would you like to get going?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. I appreciate it. This is our first of our master class. And as a social worker, I'm involved and invested in a lot of different communities. And it's always a challenge to try to bring together groups. And my belief is the things that tie people together is the narrative approach, the sharing of stories. So when I was talking with a friend of mine last year about how to get things going, he said, I think one of the best ways is to get people up there, let them tell their story, and then let them do what they're passionate about. So this is a little configuration of both, and my encouragement is for everybody to consider being in this seat. We have our role model for the day, and I hope we'll fulfill it with many people in time to come. So I'm asking Gale to come in. She's talking about Teddy Roosevelt, one of her personal friends. So we're very I'm excited to have her here and appreciate Gale.
Well, looking at his questions, you realize he only gives me 30 minutes, although I have seen that he has enlarged it a little bit from time to time. But he wanted me to start out telling you a little bit about me. So I was born in Thomasville, Georgia, right over at Archbald Hospital. I was adopted by my mother and father somewhat late in life. Mother was 36 when I was born, and they never thought they were going to get a baby. And my daddy's sister welcomed home the troops after World War II, and I was a product of that welcoming them home. But my aunt, fortunately, was sensible enough to know that she couldn't afford the child she already had, and that mother and daddy would do a much better job, which they certainly did. I went to school at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. I went and liked it so much that I stayed to get a master's. The funny thing was, it was in master's in teaching, arts and teaching, and I was history and teaching. And teaching is the one thing that I said I would never do. Never, ever, ever do. I would not get up in front of crowds. I would not speak in front of people. No, that was not what I was going to do. Of course, I graduated with a bachelor's and a master's and went to the University of Pittsburgh then to work on my doctorate, and I got through all of the coursework and came home to write my dissertation, and I adopted a baby. And all of a sudden, that dissertation did not mean too much to me anymore. Give you a frame of reference, when I started working here, my child was 9 months old, and she's now 42. So I have worked at this college longer than I have lived to do anything else, and I certainly love it. In fact, after my child and my grandchildren and my dog, the college is like my second child, because my little girl was given tours of the college when she was 3, and going in and visiting in classes, and everybody just, we didn't have air conditioning back then. I don't ever want to hear anybody talking about how there's not enough light, or there's not enough pavement, or there's not enough. We had the library in where the issues is, And if you wanted to use it at night, you just took the key and down there and opened it up and checked out books. And that was the way it was done. When I start, let me ask a question. How many of you know the origin of Thomas University? Who started? Now, see, folks, that's pitiful. That is pitiful. Thomas University used to be a college called Birdwood. It opened its doors in 54 and was trying to stay alive in 55. And people in Thomasville, let's say, did not think a whole lot of it. My uncle taught business when it was Birdwood College. And it was started by the Primitive Baptist Church. And why I tell you that is Primitive Baptists don't support education. You are called to be a preacher. You are not taught to be a preacher. So for the Primitive Baptists who have started a college in Thomasville, Georgia, was, it just wasn't heard of. And the poor first president, Dr. Shepherd, no, we had a fund drive before I got here. And
I can't tell what you're
had
saying.
money to feed the students and pay the faculty, and so the president used money out of the fund drive, and lo and behold, it was quite illegal to use funds that are designated for something and then turn around and use them for something else. I think they should have rewarded him because he was looking out for the students. They lived here. And we have one in Thomasville, I know, Mahalia Fletcher and Rudolph went to school out here when it was Birdwood College and lived out here. And in a lot of ways, I just as soon go back. It was a wonderful atmosphere when we came. Nobody had contracts. I went and told the board one time, did they really know that some of these people working here qualified for food stamps? Because they didn't have any money. And in 1975, they didn't have any students because of integration. Once integration came about, the Primitive Baptists didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore. And so my daddy, who was an attorney, worked out the paperwork to give it to the county, and we became Thomas County Community College. Not be confused with TCC, we were TCCC. And I know Dr. Shepherd inherited some problems when he came. The second president I've worked under, and I think I've worked under 9, they had a debt so big that the bank was going to have to foreclose, and that's when we sold the polo grounds over here, which was half of the property, because they needed to pay the bank for us to keep going. And we established satellite schools, and I went first to Pelham. Ironically, the first job anybody ever wanted me to do out here was to become the president. And because I was the only one that had any real background in higher education in Thomasville. And my backyard neighbor was a man named Smith. And he came over and he sat on my front porch with my daddy and me. And he said, Gale, don't touch it. He said, it's gonna fold. and he was the one that was in charge of the money. Thomas County Federal kept us going a lot. But he came over and he said, it's not going to make it, and let it die with a primitive Baptist. And I didn't want to be president anyway. So it was good that that was what they were saying. And they found a president that was a primitive Baptist. His highest degree was a master's in phys ed, football. He was a football coach over in Pelham before he came here to be president. And he was, let's just say, you never knew what might possibly come out of his mouth. And so when we had anybody come in, one of us tried to sit in the room with him so that he didn't say something that he really shouldn't have. And Birdwood was not accredited when I started working here. It cost $210 for 3 classes to go full time. We were on the quarter system. But, you know, that man was a sweet man, and he had enough sense. And we all went to the board meeting, and they were talking about the county taking over. When we walked out together, he said, you know, I just got rid of my job. And that was true. But he had enough sense to forego what might have benefited him, benefit the college. And from there, we went on to Thomas College, and then we went on to Thomas University. And you know, I'm still teaching the exact same students that I taught in 1975. You know, nice kids. You fall in love with them even if they don't perform academically. I don't remember what the word was that I was supposed to talk to about how I got involved in teaching. That was kind of a funny thing. Mr. Rogers was the first president I worked under. And he opened a satellite branch in Pelham where he lived because the GI Bill was fixing to run out. And if those people didn't use the GI Bill, they were going to lose it. So he opened a satellite in Pelham, except he forgot that he had to have faculty. And so he called morning, noon, and night, wanted me to go over there and teach. And I told him I was not going to teach. And finally, I was working in an election. We had some kind of special election. And he tracked me all the way down to Georgia School because classes were going to open in 4 days, and he had no faculty. And finally, I told him, I said, I'll teach 1 semester. 1 semester, quarter. And then by then, you find somebody. I said, because I don't want to do this full time. And needless to say, he didn't find anybody. And I want you to know, when I started teaching, I was terrible, terrible, terrible. I thought those children had to memorize every fact in that Western civilization class that we had. I'd have quit. But they recorded me, and there was a Levi Blue Jean factory in Pelham. And one of the girls asked if she could play her recordings over their intercom. And so when kids came in Pelham, heck, they had already heard most of it. You know, I could just kind of sit back and let them tell me what was happening. But it took me 3 years to figure out the Great Schism meant they had two popes. Because I was reading ahead of those children just as fast as I could read. And I will tell you how you can always tell a bad teacher. If they assign everything to the student, they don't know what they're talking about. And I did. We had, you know, and we met 4 hours. Now, can you imagine sending somebody that has never taught? I did get that master's of education and teaching, but I never intended to use it, so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. And then I was supposed to teach 4 hours. And next thing I knew, the fool was asking me, would I please set up one in Moultrie? And when I started working on this campus, we had 42 students. And the only way we could be certified was if 3 colleges would accept our credit. And Valdosta and Georgia Southwest accepted our credits. And then the state would certify, not the college, the state would certify. Well, you had to have 100 students, and we had 42. And when you added the 20-something we had over in Pelham, that still didn't get to 100. So I went to Moultrie and set up a satellite. And do you know, for a long time, the Moultrie satellite had more students than we had on campus. And I see now that ABAC has moved into Moultrie. We never should have gotten out of Moultrie. But we did. Are you going to tell me when I get
you're doing great. I can't believe what I hear. If I could keep going.
Well,
I can read a book about Teddy. He'll be on NPR. I want to hear about you.
Well, when we went to Moultrie and we did so well, we opened up a satellite in Cairo. And I'm sure you have met Maggie Roddenberry. Maggie was in my class. There was a whole corps of ladies who had never been able to go to college. And so they decided that they would come. Dot Moses, she's still alive and kicking. Anyway, there were about 7 of us over there, plus the real kids that were going to school too. But those ladies were a riot. And as far as looking at credentials of what you're supposed to teach, I taught psychology, I taught sociology, I taught contemporary social problems was my favorite, because then you could give out all these things and listen to what people said, and it was real fun. I had an international travelall at the time, and I would load what kids needed that was on a different campus, and I'd take them with me. And I had taught one state patrolman, and every night when we got out of school in Moultrie, we'd all go to a restaurant and eat. And then he would lead me back to Thomasville, going much faster than I ever drove. But we always made it. And that was good. And it was, of course, I was much younger then. I can't say all the time I was much thinner, but we used to go on field trips everywhere, and that just bothers me now because I can't take them anywhere. But Todd Spear is stepping in and helping, and that's a good thing. the things that I enjoy most about working here. The faculty, you know, doesn't bother me. It happens all the time. It may happen out of that walker there. But I enjoy getting up in the morning and coming to work, even though in the last year or so, it's been rather difficult to get up in the morning and come to work. But now they have moved me over and I finally have an office. I had an office in the Hawk's Nest, and that was a wonderful thing. I had an office in what they called an office that was probably 3 by 3. It was very difficult to get anybody in it. But now I have a brand new office. Carl was ugly and he took the windows in there. I should have gotten the windows as the senior faculty member. But no, he took the one with the windows and I can't even get any telephone service in that place that I'm in. But I love it. I love it. They also gave me a sign 3 or 4 years ago that I love that has reserved Gale Whitehurst, but they voted not to move it. There are 4 handicapped parking spaces over there. And those of you in my division, have you ever seen anybody's car parked in that handicapped place except mine? And they won't move my sign. If you could help me, that would be nice. I'm not coming back over here. Thank you, sir. I figured I could get my sign moved. I have pictures and everything else. There's no sense when I drop dead. I don't want any buildings and all that stuff, but I do want my sign while I'm still alive. What are the challenges you have encountered in your teaching and your work here? The biggest challenge, and I'm sure all of the undergraduate, those of us that teach in the general ed field will tell you that we have very brilliant students in one class. We have very poor students that are not really ready to go real fast. And you have to kind of find a way to split the middle. Because I remember going to Risker Rogers and telling him, you know, I've got people in these classes that are smarter than I am. How do I get it all together? He says, well, that's what you get paid for. Yes, probably $100 a class. I don't remember. But I will tell you a funny Homer Pankey asked my daddy, who was getting older at the time, did he intend to leave the college in his will? And Daddy chewed on his pipe a minute, thought about it, and he says, well, Homer, you know, I've been subsidizing this college for the last 25 years. How do you think Gale works here? And that was true. We have lost some very good faculty people because we didn't have adequate insurance benefits, and we didn't have stuff that if you really weren't subsidized by somebody else, you could not afford to work here. So I will give a great hurrah that we are certainly much better than we have ever been before. How long have you been at Thomas University? 43 years. How did you find out about it when they had the opening ceremony? I mean, what can I say? How teaching has impacted your life. I don't know what I would have ever done if I hadn't come to work here. This college has been great to me, whether I, you know, cared about the money or not. It was just kind of, it's been my touchstone. And we've had 3 or 4 of our faculty that were in my original crowd stop working and retire. I guess that's a nice word for it. And they have retired, and they go everywhere. But I guess Susan and I, and Carl's getting on up there now, that gray hair, you know, this college will give you gray hair. But it is fun to watch the faculty line up and see, you know, who's doing what now. How did your life lead you toward teaching? I couldn't tell that man no for the 100th time. Where was I raised? Right here in Thomasville. I was the only child. My daddy always said, if you hit the jackpot the first time, why do you need another one? The real reason is because I don't think my mother could have handled another one. I was always getting calls because I hurt my leg or hurt my finger, or when I had a horse fall on me on the Moultrie Road. I remember thinking as I crawled to the side holding on to the horse that I'm going to die right here on the Moultrie Road. And I passed out for a little while, and a lady came. There were lots of people around, and she looked at me and she said, "You can't get up." And I said, "I most certainly can get up." She said, "No, your head is busted open." I said, "Well, I don't feel it, so it doesn't matter. I need to get up." And so she was very distraught that she couldn't control me. But she said, "I called your daddy." And I said, "My heavens, what the hell for?" I said, "My daddy would be no more help in a crisis." I said, I hope he called my mother." And he did. And mother argued with me because I wouldn't let her take me to the hospital until I had taken the horse down to where Clanton's was, then on the Moultrie Road, so it would be fine. I had a monkey when I was little. And we had a boxer dog that he would get up on and ride, and if he'd fall off, the dog would sit down and wait for it to climb back on. My daddy came home with a horse in his trunk of his car because his mother had gotten killed in barbed wire, and nobody would take it, so daddy took it. And so I had to raise the horse on a bottle, and it learned to come in the house. And at the time, in our kitchen had ceramic tile on it. And daddy came through one time when the horse had slid and was prone on the floor. And by the end of the week, we had indoor-outdoor carpet so the horse wouldn't fall when it came in the house. But we lived in a great big 6-column white house. And we came home one night, and it had a solid door, but it had little window panes all up and around the door. And we had a beautiful curving staircase that had a newel post at the end. And I walked over and I looked in, and I saw a monkey going round and round on that newel post. And all of a sudden that monkey saw me, and he got down off that newel post, and he ran in the kitchen and got in his cage and shut the door. as if he did not think that we would notice that something was askew here. He had taken my mother's Afghan violets out and pulled the roots off and then stuck them back in the pot so he wouldn't get caught. But he got caught. But we had a housekeeper at the time that I just loved, named Pearlie Mae. And Pearlie Mae looked at that little monkey and she says, "Oh, my little baby." And she loved that monkey.
That's why you raised.
Yes, thank you. I should have mentioned that. Being an only child, when I went off to college, my mother went off the deep end. And if it had not been for then Birdwood College, I think my mother would have had a nervous breakdown. I mean, she was the epitome of the empty nest syndrome. And Daisy Pope was running art classes out here, and Mother and her sisters got in those art classes. And at Rollins, very few Southern people go there. It's a feeder school for New Jersey and New York. And I had a room on the end of the hall, and I'd be walking through and somebody'd stick a telephone. We had a bank of telephones in the middle. Stick a telephone in my face and say, "Here, talk to my mother." So here I was talking with my Southern accent to somebody I had never known. But if you go to school with a lot of Yankees that can't go home, they love invitations. And we'd come home, sometimes there'd be 6, 8 of us. And Mother and Daddy loved it. So she found out it wasn't too bad after all. But I only adopted one baby. And when she got to be, I guess, 8, I thought, if I don't find me something else to focus on, I'm going to make this child's life miserable and mine miserable as well. So in 1986, the college had fired me. The president had fired me. He also was the one that tried to burn the campus down and burned all the resumes people had. And he fired me. So EEOC put me back to work. And they had to give me all of my back pay, which might have been $15,000. And they said that there had to be no break. You know, I guess they thought in education that I might go somewhere. And they didn't want a break in my continuous enrollment. And so I used my money and I got these dogs. And I've been breeding and showing, and the kids say, Miss Whitehurst says, that dog is not your service dog, you're her service human. And that probably is about right. 10 minutes. Got 10 minutes. Okay, I'll talk to you about Teddy Roosevelt. Unless you want to know.
The candle next to you.
Well, you know, I will tell you one thing. If Dr. Shepherd gets out mowing the lawn, you know we're in bad shape, because every president I worked under, when we had financial problems or whatever, they get out there and ride that dang tractor. So you could kind of figure. But you know, when people ask me at the college or at the grocery store rather, are you still working at the college? I say, yes, I am. And they say, well, how's it doing? I said, I still get a paycheck. So I guess it's doing all right. In 43 years, I've only missed one, and that was voluntary, because we didn't have any money. But you know, when we were working with the Primitive Baptist Cynthia Smith was our bookkeeper. And oh, we would not have enough money. And when the mail came, a check would come from Miss Harvard or a check would come from Miss Waller, or some of those other ladies that didn't live in town. And we always made it through. So I have figured divine power is looking over this place. And he will get us through whatever we might hope to get out of now. Teddy Roosevelt. Before I talk to you about Teddy Roosevelt, I want you to know when I compare Teddy Roosevelt, who is my favorite president, to President Trump, who is way down on the bottom of my favorite presidents. But you know, if you go through and you study history, Teddy Roosevelt was very much like Donald Trump, except that he had moral values. And he knew what he was doing. And that would be a nice thing now. But Teddy Roosevelt was a character. In the Spanish-American War, his mother and father paid to send a cavalry unit over there, horses. And the most famous battle of the Spanish-American War was the Battle of San Juan Hill. And if you've never seen Teddy Roosevelt was a very unimpressive little man. He wore what you would call Coke bottle glasses. He couldn't see worth a darn, but he had been a very sickly child, and his mother and his daddy had told him that he could be anything he wanted to be. And he wanted to be president. So the Battle of San Juan Hill, the cavalry unit raced up that hill 4, 5, 6 times so the photographer could get him just right. Because that was going to be his campaign slogan when he ran for governor of New York. It is very impressive. If you've never seen it, oh, he's got a big hat on and his sword held high, racing up the mountain, up the hill. And he became governor of New York. And Teddy Roosevelt, like President Trump, loved to give his opinion. Oh, he loved to give his opinion. And if newspapers, the New York Times, as governor of New York, asked him anything, he told exactly what he thought. And let's just say his thoughts were more of a progressive movement that had come about in the early 1900s, where again, like today, money was seated at the top, and the middle and the poor people weren't getting anything. And Teddy Roosevelt, believe it or not, before he became president, was spokesman for the Progressive Party, the progressive movement. He would later run on the Progressive Party. But the Republican Party was scared of what they were going to do with Teddy Roosevelt, because Teddy Roosevelt was becoming more and more and more and more popular. And so in 1896, they had elected a man named William McKinley. And if you go down Dawson Street, you can see the McKinley House where McKinley plotted his presidency. And he told the people of Thomasville if he won, he would come back. And he did, but that did not make him a good president. But in 1900, McKinley was going to get reelected. And so the Republican Party thought and thought and thought, and they thought, hey, we'll make Teddy Roosevelt McKinley's vice president. And then we'll tell McKinley not to let him do anything. Don't talk to anybody. Don't go anywhere. You know, get him out of the front page of the New York Times newspaper. Well, everybody with good sense thought Teddy Roosevelt would say no, because the vice presidency is the weakest office we have. And a president can use a vice president. A lot of them have. Or they can't. But their plan kind of backfired because William McKinley was shot dead. And Teddy Roosevelt, as vice president, became president. And the head of the Republican Party, and remember, this was when politics was not, that we didn't have primaries and all that kind of good stuff. But the reaction of one of the leaders of the Republican Party is, oh, damn, that damn cowboy is in the White House. And he was. And if you look, I only have 5 minutes, so I shall close it up without telling you all the good stuff I could tell you. But Teddy Roosevelt basically took over the Republican Party, just like Donald Trump has taken over the Republican Party. Because he was there for 8 years. And at the end of his 8 years, he went back to the Republican bigwigs and said, hey, you know, if you let me choose who runs, I won't run. Well, if you listen to that, it's a very unveiled hint that if you don't let me choose who I want to have, I'm going to run myself. And they couldn't have stopped. They could not have stopped. And he put Taft in. And Flowers Baking Company, Miss Flowers was a Taft. But Teddy Roosevelt didn't like Taft. And he went back to the Republican Party and said, you need to dump Taft and put me back on the ballot. And people, there has not been a political party in our history that has ever done a seated president. The Democrats knew they were going to lose with Jimmy Carter, but they ran him anyway. The Republicans knew they were going to lose with Jerry Ford, but they ran him anyway. Well, when the Republican Party at their convention chose Taft, Teddy Roosevelt says, well, by dang, I'll put forth my own party. And he split the Republican Party ticket. And that's how Woodrow Wilson sneaked in the back door. It wasn't because the Democrats had become the primary, love of everybody's life. It was that Taft got about half the Republican votes and Teddy got about half the Republican votes. And he was given a message, and somebody tried to shoot him, and he had the Constitution in his pocket, and that's what kept him from getting killed. And that man right back there is fixing to help us not get killed too. Can I get off of this thing here? Thank you. Yeah, you are welcome. I'll be happy to
Does
take
anybody
it.
have any questions?
When's part 2 of this series?
Yeah. We want to hear more about the monkey.
They can have 3 hangovers.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Gail, and thank you to Courtney and Bob for having food. Eat up the food, and we'll start Faculty Senate at 2 o'clock. Thank you, all the people online. Thank you all. So, if you are online, you're going to be switching to the faculty side.